miracle hangs near a man's thigh. Full under folds, it is stiff, strong. The Pope has it, but doesn't use it. A nun does not need it. I have one, but your mom is the one that uses it. What am I? Take a guess, Alex. It's Play PSVR2, the podcast, episode 119. That isn't the answer to the riddle. Really, what do you think it is?
I thought it was going to be the podcast, and you said, oh yeah, people are listening to us on their phone, and the phones are in their pocket near their thigh, but the Pope can't play PSVR, and my mom listens to it because you're on something like that. I don't want to say what you're trying to make me say.
It's a good one. And the whole reason I bring this up is because we are reviewing Cave Digger 2 Dig Harder, and part of the game there's riddles you need to answer. And so it's a perfect segue into the review of Cave Digger 2, of Garden in the Sea, the upcoming May releases for PSVR 2, and all the other news and discussions we have. Alex, are you prepared to get deep into it?
I am prepared to get deep, but is there a clean answer to your riddle?
I mean, it's a penis. Is that clean?
I guess it depends on if you've taken a shower recently or not.
Good point. Do you wash it? It's not Thursday, so no. Okay, Gamer Juices. I'm coming in. I'm double fisting tonight, baby. So it is the Kentucky Derby. So I made a very, very crude, cheap mint julep. Very, very easy, just bourbon and mint, and use some syrup and some sugar, some ice. And then what my original Gamer Juice, that was a last second, oh crap, it's a Kentucky Derby, I have to do something relative. My real Gamer Juice, I've got 3 little Huggies. Do you remember these, Alex?
Yeah. I found one in the back of my fridge a long time ago, and I drank it, and it was fine. But yeah, I remember those as a kid.
Yeah, Little Hug fruit barrels. I haven't seen these in forever. I saw one. I was like, that is the perfect Gamer Juice. It's only 1 gram of sugar. Brings back the nostalgia. I used to chug these after soccer practice when I was like 5, 6 years old. Good stuff. As I try to open this, what are you drinking?
That's what I hated about those. They're always a pain to open. I think you're supposed to just stick a straw right in there. I'm drinking, I went to the Asian grocery store. I've got an assortment. I've got drinks staring me down in the fridge every day. This is Saku Saku, Ringo Yogurt, apple-flavored Saku Saku Yogurt. Whatever Saku Saku.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's like yogurt and fruit. It felt timely. Garden in the Sea, there's a lot of fruit and stuff that you're getting. I'm not a fan of yogurt. I'm a fan of apple. I don't know what apple.
Yogurts are more smoothies than like an actual drink. Is it liquid or is it smoothie type?
I mean, I'm sure it looks pure liquidy. I mean, I guess it's got chunks of yogurt. Saku. I don't know what Saku Saku is. Saku Saku.
I don't know. Saku.
It's chunky. Do you see it on my tongue?
No, that's nasty. Okay. Is
it
chunky like because there's like bits of fruit in there, or chunky because...
Yeah, I think it's like a chunk of apple. But how long has it been in there is a question.
I don't know. You're going to be braffing it up mid-podcast. So here's the thing. We got a review, and we just want to... IndigoIsle.com? What is that?
Yeah, we got a review on iTunes. We like to shout these things out.
So the website gave us a review. Is that what you're saying?
The guy's name, I guess his iTunes name is IndigoIsle.com. Maybe this is guerrilla marketing. I don't know. Kudos to him. He got us to say his name on our podcast for free. Well, not for free. He left us a review. Said, I don't even own a PSVR, yet this is one of my favorite podcasts. What is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Most of our listeners don't own a PSVR. Most people that own a PSVR don't listen to our podcast, and that's the way we like it. All right? We're here trying to convince you people that don't have a PSVR to get a PSVR because of the podcast. So anyway, he said we're gloriously VR talk in the most immature way. I'd like to say we're so mature that people think we're immature. I think that's what's happening, Adam.
Listen, if you have an answer to my riddle, Indigo Isle, bring it on. That is as mature as you can get. Contact at playpsvr.com, Twitter, YouTube. Try us. That has a real answer, and it's a very mature answer. You know, I went through sexual education All right.
Sexication.
I got sexicated. Listen, next. Alex, you've been wanting, and it's actually Playstradamus's one of his predictions is that PSVR 2 would be coming to the PCVR. Not yet, but IVRE, I'm assuming is how you say this, their group that's trying to make this happen. They're giving updates through Twitter. And one of the latest updates is that they can now pass the authentication on the PC with the PSVR 2 so that the PSVR 2 believes that the PC is a PS5. And so they're still working on it. Does that give you hope? Again, this isn't something I care about. If they decide and they figure out how to do it, I don't care. But do you care? And do you think this is a good step in the right direction?
I mean, yeah, this is obviously a good step in the right direction. Although every time that one of these things comes out, somebody's just like, "Hey, by the way, don't get your hopes up." But it's hard not to get your hopes up when it seems like they have a new update every month of like something that they've, some barrier they've broken through. As somebody who's played a bit of PCVR, I get a PC that can play VR games pretty well, but I would certainly love to plug my PSVR2 headset and into my PC and play some of these PC VR games. Does Sony want me to do that? I don't think so, because Sony wants us to buy the PC VR games that are ported to PSVR2, and they want to get that cut of the money. But I think for users and just people interested in getting a PSVR2, like that's good, right? Like if they can finally get this to work, then people who own a PC VR, they're looking for that next headset. They don't want to spend $20,000 for an Oculus Pro or that big screen, whatever it's called, that you have to 3D print your face mask for. They want to get something relatively cheap, which would be the PSVR. Now, the next question is, are they going to be able to pick up the controllers, right, and find the logic of how the controllers work? But I mean, if there's some way that I can plug a PSVR 2 into a PC and play PC VR games on it, other people are going to do that. That will at least increase the PSVR 2 install base, which might make it more enticing for developers to port their games to PSVR 2, because Sony could say, "Hey, we have this many units sold. That's what you're marketing to, is this many potential customers," even though a portion of those might just be PC VR people with a PSVR 2 headset.
You wouldn't be able to use the haptic feedback or the head rumble or stuff, right?
You might be able to. I mean, people, if they can crack the code on like how these inputs are passing through, usually they plug these things in and they can kind of interpret what's happening and play around with things a little bit. But I think there's still some hardcore work to need to be done to like diagnose these inputs or investigate what these inputs are. They need the drivers. That's the word I'm looking for. But once they can figure that out, yeah, they could certainly make those things happen. Now, nobody's going to develop a game expecting the PSVR 2 technology, right? So if I'm playing a PC VR game, it's not going to use the eye-tracked rendering, I don't think. I don't think it's going to use the special haptics, but you still have the rumble. You'd have a basic VR headset on your PC.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Why would you want to use a PSVR 2 if you can't use the best features? Like, just use your same freaking VR set.
Well, some of the older VR sets aren't that great. I mean, I like the Sense controllers. They're better than some of the other controllers I've used. I like the comfort of the PSVR 2 headset. So
you're nuts. Every time I use it, I'm like, how have they made such an uncomfortable headset? I don't understand you. What is wrong with you?
They obviously didn't design the headset around inbred skulls. I think that might be the issue that you're running into there.
Is that it? I don't know. But well, I don't want to get demonetized, YouTube, so I'm gonna stay off. I'm gonna move on, Alex, because I do want to talk about Cave Digger 2. It's been a while. I did review this for the PSVR, both Cave Digger and Cave Digger 2, and then I'm coming back to it. But for the official PSVR 2 release, we got to get started. It's Cave Digger 2 time, baby. Woo! Just like his younger brother, Cave Digger, for the PSVR 2, the updated title, Cave Digger 2 Dig Harder, take the stand. Are you worth the hours of investment? Are you worth the $25 price tag? Your future is in my hands. I first consider the count of, did I play that? And this is going to sound so mean, but it must be said. A 10-hour game based on mining ore with a pickaxe sounds like maybe one of the worst ideas I have ever heard of for a video game. Seriously, could you think of a more boring concept? Why not VR, a Ant Farmville, or fishing at a pond VR? The idea is just so bad that I wouldn't have touched this with a 10-foot pole if I didn't review it. And I'm sure you are thinking the same thing, but I have to admit the execution is actually pretty well done. There's enough shooting, digging, mining, panning for gold, secrets, that although on paper this sounds like a horribly dull game, it's respectable and at times, especially with the multiplayer, pretty fun. Because of this, on the count of, did I play that? Well, yes, I did. And I call you guilty. Alex, you were the one of the multiplayer friends I played this with. Any input or questions you have about maybe the theory or on paper, the concept, the source material of this game?
I think, any game can be distilled to its basic concepts and make it sound boring. You're just mining for ore, whatever. This does have a bit of interesting stuff. I liked Cave Digger 1 for the kind of, randomized dungeons that you'd go in and mine. I like that this one incorporated some shooting, so there's enemies to add some spice to it. The shooting was pretty well done and kind of enjoyable. And they added just some extra things like the mining and panning and stuff. Really, the ultimate goal is to build out your town, and you're mining to get money so you can build out your town. But you can distill it, make it sound boring, but like you said, there's a lot going on there and a surprising amount going on there, and I had a decent enough time with it. Do you think that it? I don't know. Did you think it was fun? What you did?
I think initially it's fun. However, and one thing, I was the one to officially review the game. You played it for a little bit, but then you had to move on. I continued to play it for about 10 hours. So it gets boring. It also isn't much of a town you're building out. Initially, you think that's the goal, and there are multiple endings of the plot, but there's also very little plot. Things I'll dive in here in a little bit. And I would say the first 3 hours was fun. And then after that, other than very small little things, like when you upgrade your gun, it's cool to shoot people once and just have them, die in one hit, things of that nature. It just runs old, and it's not as much fun as the beginning. But it's still, like I said, for what it's worth, the execution was pretty good. And moving on to the two counts, mind you, of Deja Poo. I reviewed Cave Digger, and now I've reviewed Cave Digger 2. Like I said, I've reviewed it twice, once on the PSVR, and now Cave Digger 2 on the PSVR 2. And it now has a few new wrinkles, some new weapons, the areas, but it's so incredibly similar to the first game. I don't know if this type of game really should be a series, and it seems as though they're going to make it a series. And I'll admit, Cave Digger 2 on the PSVR 2 is way better, primarily because of the analog sticks. Those puppies are game-changing. The haptic feedback and head rumble are there, but they're very minimal. There is a plot, but I've played this for 8 to 10 hours, and I only have half of the comic books that tell the story. And to elaborate on this, you go into a cave. Once you reach the end of a level, there are some safes. The safes are where you crack the riddle. You open this bad boy, and the safe, you get treasures, and sometimes there's a page of a comic book that tells the plot. The plot isn't revealed to you immediately. The narrator doesn't tell you about the plot. You may have no idea what the plot is unless you read the comic books. And there's 25 of these comic book pages altogether, but it takes so long to get them. If I've spent 8 to 10 hours getting half of them, and I almost fully upgraded everything, it's just, I don't know if it's really worth going through there just to see the plot. It does have multiple endings, I think 4 of them, if I'm correct. It's also it's essentially the same game as the very first one with some enhancements and some enemies, and it's just, I don't know. It's a bit disappointing. Again, for this type of theory for a game, personally, I think there should only be one good one. Cave Digger 2 should be the only mining game for the PSVR, and it would be okay. Touch wood if there's a third one. Please, like, please no. The game isn't bad. Like, developers have skill. Work on something else, man. But on the 2 counts of Deja Vu, Cave Digger 2, I find you guilty.
So, I mean, I will say that the little bit I played of Cave Digger 2, it does feel better than Cave Digger 1. That's true. Although, like you kind of alluded to, it feels like just a better version of the same game that Cave Digger 1 was. Although Cave Digger 2 does have multiplayer, and I had a good time playing multiplayer with you, but mostly because it was you and I trying to figure out what in the world's going on in the game. So, I feel like there's a good game there from what I played, but like you said, it's if they're going to do a Cave Digger 3 that's just like Cave Digger 2, but like a little bit better, I'm not necessarily want to see that, because we can talk about it more after the next one, but there's stuff that maybe could be added to it. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. So finally, I want to move to, it's not crack cocaine, it's malachite. Although I've made it clear on the worries about the source material of the game, I have to admit something about this gameplay loop that is addictive. I love the fact that it's not overstimulating. It's almost more meditative than anything. You don't need to try too hard. It doesn't challenge you too much. You know what you're going to get. You can just kind of veg out and play. If you hook up with multiplayer, it's a great time trying to steal items from each other, moving through caves twice as fast, racking up the coin, the gold, maybe some comic books. The enemies are cool. However, they reuse the same enemies throughout the entire game, just with different colors and slightly upgraded abilities. I wish I could describe how the first hour was really fun, but then it started to get to the point where I wasn't having as much fun. But I was like, I do the cave. I'm like, okay, that wasn't that fun. But then in my mind, I'm like, okay, just one more cave. Let me just do one more. And now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to binge this game. In fact, I played 2 caves 2 or 3 times a day. So and I did that for over a week. So one cave takes around 20 to 30 minutes if you do it right and you're thorough. So playing this way still makes it fun because you're not binging it. You're not getting too much of it at one time. And it's actually a pretty decent little workout. And that way it also doesn't burn you out. So maybe Alex can describe it a little better. I don't know why, but it is fairly addicting. And the one good thing about it is you 100% are going to get your money's worth if you finish the game. If you get all the comic books, you at least have over 10 hours worth of gameplay, $25, very good value on that. So before I go to my final verdict, and actually I'll give my verdict right here on the count of it's not crack cocaine, it's malachite, I find you guilty. Alex, what do you think? Can you describe, did you feel the addictive nature of this when you played?
Yeah, and part of it's like the kind of randomization, right? I mean, it feels good to hack into the wall with a pickaxe and gold pops out and you get that gold and, that just feels like you're progressing something, right? You want to see the numbers go up. They added a bit more here too, where there's some exploration, right? There's like some zip lines and there's some like vines that you can climb on. So the exploration is fun and it's kind of exciting, but the downfall is that every time I kind of did that exploration, what I got as a reward was kind of not too exciting. It might have just been more gold to throw into my sack, and not like a lot more gold. Not like, oh, you found the secret. Guess what? You've just gotten 10 times what you normally would. It was just like, oh, here's like an extra crystal. It's like I would have had much more fun just blowing past that and coming back to the cave again and getting that kind of thing. As far as like the enemy variety, I encountered some various enemies, and they were interesting initially, but then they kind of, kind of became more of a nuisance than an obstacle. Like you said, shooting the enemies. Like now I shoot the enemies, I gotta wait for them to blow up before I can go near them. There's like mechanics of turning on, lighting the torches in each cave that doesn't really seem to matter that much. But again, I didn't get as far as you. I will say in Cave Digger 1, there's like some weird story stuff that was happening that was intriguing. And I would hope that Cave Digger 2 kind of spells that out a bit more. Like, I was affecting change in Cave Digger 1 that I didn't quite understand until I got to the end of the game. And that was exciting and that was interesting. I feel like Cave Digger 2 is not doing that because the scope is wider, so there's less stuff that you can kind of mess up. But again, ultimately it feels like these mechanics are really good, but I kind of get tired of what I'm doing with them pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was really disappointed that there aren't new enemies. I mean, there are essentially 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 enemies in the game. And then each level, they just change their skins and they have a little more HP. They even have the same attacks. Like it's really sad. I'm like, why? But it is what it is. I do appreciate the addicting gameplay. I like upgrading. You start to become overpowered. You just and then that lets you make more money, and then you become even more overpowered. Like I like that aspect of it. So it has something going on.
I think one good example of this though is like when you and I were playing, we saw that mountain, and it was like, hey, let's climb this mountain. And we found all these ropes. We climbed the mountain to the top, thinking there's going to be something at the top. And it was fun to climb the mountain, but when you get to the top, all there was a zip line to get you back down to the bottom. Yeah. There wasn't anything up there to do. There was no reason to go up the mountain. And it's not like the environment was big, but it's not like breathtaking or anything. It's just that kind of stuff. There's so much stuff that's like interesting. Let me go see what that's about. It's about nothing. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's time to go on to our final verdict.
That's right.
So on these 3 counts and the final verdict of determining if you are a worthy PSVR2 title to put your precious time and money into, I find you, Cave Digger 2, Dig Harder, hung
jury.
It's a hung jury. You probably saw this coming, Alex. Here's my thing. The source material, just the idea is the biggest hurdle, right? I can't think of a worse source material for a game. It's just so boring and repetitive. This game is one that I could see the risk in having a demo for it. But I think for the players, it would be really nice to have a demo because you're going to do the demo and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I like this. I could do this for 10 hours and that's worth it. And some people are going to play the demo and they're going to say, wow, yeah, this is boring. I don't want to do this. And then they won't buy it. They won't be unhappy. So do you think a demo would, for a game like this, produce more sales or have more people reject it because of the demo?
Man, that's a tough call because I mean, the bit that I played, like the game was fun, but I feel like if I were playing it in a demo, just there's a lack of polish to it where it feels like kind of glitchy or finicky, and maybe that was just my bad tracking setup or something like that. But it's just things like worked well 95% of that time, but the 5% was just kind of like off-putting. And so if I saw that kind of stuff in a demo, I'd be like, okay, I see what's happening here. I don't really want to move on. I do feel like the really exciting stuff maybe happens outside of the scope of a demo, but maybe a demo would at least show you like what the main gameplay loop is. It's a tough call, man, because I really have no idea if a demo would be better or worse here.
I feel like in general it would actually help because some people definitely will be turned off, but if they just had it set up where you just go through one mine, that's all you need to do, not super long, even make just 2 levels or something. It doesn't even need to be the entire mine or cave, but because the source material and on paper, the theory of this is so boring and sounds so repetitive, so many people, admittedly, myself included, would immediately dismiss it and wouldn't even give it a shot. Whereas if there's a demo, you're always going to try demo for free. Why not? That could, otherwise I would never buy it, entice me again to feel that, oh, you know what? That's kind of addictive. Or, well, I wish I had one more mine to go through. And then especially like right now, it's on sale for $14.99. So, it's $10 off. That would make me be like, okay, that's worth the risk. I enjoyed the demo, or I thought, yeah, demo was pretty good. Could go either way, but it's not a total flyer of a game. I feel like maybe it would be good to have one. I don't know. It's tough, but those are my thoughts. Needs a demo, is $14.99. I It was okay. I don't really see myself going back to it, with all the other games we have on PSVR2. I couldn't say, regardless of the situation, you need to buy this game, which is why I thought it should be hung. Some people are going to like it. Again, you're going to get a ton of time out of it. Like I said, 10 hours in, I got half the comic book. You're going to either go zen and you're going to really like the game, or you're going to think it's stupid and repetitive and you're going to hate it. That's why it had to be hung, in my opinion.
I think the biggest thing to understand about this game, and the normal price tag of like $25, I think is what it is normally, not on sale. This game was designed to run on the PSVR1, so like in terms of technicals. It's been ported to PSVR2. It has benefits of being on PSVR2, but for the most part, what you're looking at is a PSVR1 game. And whereas something like Song in the Smoke Rekindled like was beautified up, they did a whole lot more to make it a lot fresher and cleaner, better resolution, better textures and stuff. This is a game that has PSVR1 textures, for better or worse. Gameplay is PSVR1 gameplay, just a bit smoother now that you have better tracking and stuff like that. So I think that's maybe the thing holding it back. But I mean, there is an enjoyable gameplay loop, as you said. So on sale, I think it certainly seems like a $10 to $15 game, and I wouldn't be disappointed there. But when you're talking about like $30, $25, you're going into the realm of like Tentacular, which I think would be a better use of your money for a game that is very much a PSVR2 game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy I reviewed it because it gave me a reason to get back in the headset. Like, I enjoy Pavlov, but I don't always crave Pavlov. All the other games I've beaten. So there was no real reason for me to go back in any game and continue to play VR. This gave me that reason, and it gave me achievable goals that made me want to keep going in. So there's definitely a place for it in the PlayStation Store. I just, like we said, kind of hope it doesn't go into a whole series, because I feel like it's about played out. Polish up your PSVR 2 product right here. I think you'd be good. Alex, there are some new games coming out in May. I'm going to tell you the game, and we can discuss them a little bit. I want you to tell me which one of these you're most looking forward to, because we've got 5 pretty big hitters here that I mean, I want to play all of them. No, I don't want to play all of them, but I want to play some of them. So the first one, we know it's coming out in May. Hubris. Have you watched the trailer for this? At least, okay. It looks pretty good right now in PCVR. I don't think it was the most impressive. And again, I hate just constantly getting PCVR ports, but it seems like they're reworking a lot of what could make this game really good and putting it on PSVR 2. Your hype level for this, where's it at?
I was about mid-tier. Like, we don't have many sci-fi shooters on PSVR 2, it seems. So I'm excited about that being something, but the feedback on the PCVR version that came out was not great. But apparently the developer has said that, hey, we got a bunch of enhancements already locked in and ready to launch on the PSVR 2 version. We're going to fix a lot of the crap that people were upset about. So my hype went up a little bit, but noting that it's coming from like, maybe a 5 out of 10 to now it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10 in terms of hype of what I'm expecting to enjoy out of this game. I'm slightly optimistic, whereas before I was neutral.
Yeah, I feel it looks good.
It looks really good, like,
and it's
graphically
using,
looks great,
all the technology. So hopefully, it would be nice. It would hopefully it comes out and it's clutch, because it looks like it has potential. So May 11th, another Fisherman's Tale. Yeah. Certainly, you're excited for it. You're going to review this. Yeah. You're going to play this. I didn't like the first one, and this looks like, in my opinion, and you could certainly disagree, you probably do, this looks like a less creative version than the first Fisherman's Tale, because it doesn't have that you are a small figure within the environment, and what you do is on the outside. I know I'm probably butchering the way that I could describe this in English, but are you still excited? Are you sad that they're not using that same game mechanic?
Yeah, I loved that game mechanic for Fisherman's Tale. This is like it looks like a totally different game, but in the Fisherman's Tale universe. This game, the gameplay conceit, instead of dropping in and out of this diorama that you're existing in multiple levels, this is a game where you're swapping your hands out and getting new abilities with your new hands. That being said, it's the same developers. Obviously, they're probably going the same kind of route of like fun, mind-bendy type stuff, I'm hoping. I mean, I know these developers have all the creativity they need to make an enjoyable puzzle game. So that's why I'm excited about it. And I have faith and I'm kind of trusting them to do something clever and exciting with this new gameplay mechanic that motivated them to make a sequel to Fisherman's Tale.
Yeah, I really hope it's not just like when we see that it's just switching hands and using this to manipulate, environment, do tasks. It seems like a lower level PSVR introductory game. Almost like, I don't want to pick on Tentacular or Job Simulator or, one of those other games where it's a very basic concept and it just seems like a beginner VR game. Whereas, again, Fisherman's Tale was clearly higher level thinking, more creative. I hope, obviously, it's the latter, and somehow they spice that up.
But sometimes you get, just to play devil's advocate for that, sometimes you get really simple gameplay concepts like on Portal. The whole concept is you have a portal that can open A and B. You go inside, come out the other one, and that's it. And they made an amazing game out of that one concept. Same with Chroma Gun, similar type of stuff. So there's probably potential there for them to do some really fun and clever stuff. I just have no idea what's going to be happening, but I'm excited to find out what they've done.
Yeah. I'm excited about Walkabout Mini Golf. Comes out May 11th as well. I don't understand why everyone loves this game so much, but I'm excited to find out. So we'll group up, we'll golf, I guess that's all you do.
We'll walk around and play mini golf, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I love putt-putt. Putt-putt's always fun. So I'm also surprised that this hasn't been done before, especially if it's such a hot game. Like Beat Saber was really popular, and now there's like 11 clones of Beat Saber. To my knowledge, even on PSVR, there's no putt-putt game.
There's Infinite Mini Golf was on.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was 100-foot robot golf or something like that.
That's different. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's not really golf. Okay, I never played it. So
yeah, it's fun. I like it. I wish
then
that was ported.
There's Everybody's Golf, which would probably be great if they ported that to PSVR 2.
Yeah, but those aren't like a mini golf. The Infinite Mini Golf obviously is. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm excited for this. We're both gonna play it. We're gonna review it. Are you excited for this or another Fisherman's Tale? Which one takes the lead because they come out the same day?
I'm more excited for another Fisherman's Tale just because of how good Fisherman's Tale was, but the hype around Walkabout, like people are saying, I'm happy to double dip and buy this game again because it's that good. Like, okay, I'd have to play it. Like, it's obviously might be the next system seller for PSVR 2. There's people holding out and say, oh, if that's on it, I'll buy the system. So how can I not be,
Dude, and I don't understand why. Like, I'm ready to be blown away. I'm ready to be blown, but I don't understand. Like, how can that be the game that you're like, oh yeah, Gran Turismo would be cool, but if it has Walkabout Mini Golf, I'm buying. I agree. People are saying that, like you said, but I can't fathom what about it is that good.
Yeah. Like, hey, let's just wait and see. I mean, it's going to be in our lap soon.
Yeah. We've got 5 days, less than a week. Humanity coming out free for PlayStation Plus members May 16th. We played the demo. You liked it more than I did. You excited for it? Where is this? Are you going to play another Fisherman's Tales, finish it, then play Humanity? Is this a day one play? What's your game plan?
I mean, it's from Enhance, the people that did Rez and Tetris Effect, for better or worse there. So I'm excited to see a new gameplay design. They've never led me astray, this group, when they've done some kind of new gameplay thing that didn't sound too exciting. This isn't like a Mizuguchi joint, but it's still like his group, still his publishing company. So I'm optimistic there. It doesn't really, the presentation doesn't really hook me, but that's never really the point necessarily. So I'm certainly, Hey, I liked Salaryman Escape, which is what this game effectively seems to be, just a better version of Salaryman Escape. So I'm all aboard seeing how this gameplay design works, but I don't think it's going to be anything mind blowing. I think it's just probably going to be fun little puzzle lemmings type game. And if they can put this enhanced studios presentation, this Tetris Effect type vibe to it, then yeah, that might be a really next level enjoyable game.
Did I review Salaryman Escape, or did I just purchase it based on your recommendation? I don't remember.
I don't know. I reviewed it. I don't think you. Yeah.
Okay, then I bought it afterward. Must have been on sale, and you recommended it. Sucked.
It's not like a perfect game for everybody. I don't know why I would have told you to get it, but I liked it.
It could have been my own. Yeah, it was on sale, and I was like, oh, screw it,
Yeah.
I'll try it. And bad decision. It was not very good. I mean, it was. I even admit it was worse than Transpose, and that's pretty bad because
It had issues with controls and stuff like that, but once you figured that out, which was hard to do, there was some interest. It had an interesting vibe to it.
it just wasn't fun. It was like
It was
I guess it
sexy
was
is what it was.
challenging, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's fun. Like, I don't want to get into all this. Okay, Hello Neighbor, Search and Rescue coming out the 25th of May. I'm gonna be honest, Alex, I could care less. This goodbye, neighbor, because I'm not playing you. I don't want to play you. I'm not gonna play you. I don't care if you ever came out. Do you feel differently?
If I've played the console versions of this game and it's a glitchy mess. If they can make it somehow put it in VR and make it not a glitchy mess, then maybe I'll have a good time with it. People love it. Kids are playing it nonstop all the time, so there's obviously something there.
Is that a worry that kids like it?
Not necessarily, but I mean, they have a lower threshold, right? Like a lower bar to get over to be like a game they love, right? They overlook all this glitchy crap, and they're just like, oh, it's fun because I'm running around the house and I'm going to throw this toy car at this dude's head. But there's so much out there already like that. Why would I be playing this game when I could be playing Resident Evil 8 when they're both kind of like hide from enemies or something like I don't know. And the thing is, it's going to sell like gangbusters probably, but I just don't get it. Maybe I'll play it and I'll look so stupid, and I would love for that to be the case.
Well, trust me, we can't guarantee you'll look stupid. I just don't know if this will be the reason why. So, of these 5 games, which one of these are you most excited for?
I think it's got to be Walkabout Mini Golf just because there's a big question mark for me, and I know the game's quality, and it's going to open the floodgates for just like a great drop-in multiplayer of the game that's not Pavlov where I'm just getting owned left and right. Maybe that's the big thing. I just want a good multiplayer game that doesn't have to be shooting people and me getting rocked.
It's funny because we bought a multiplayer game, and guess what? We played it once after the fall.
That's because you were so bad at it. You were so bad at it. You took the fun out of the game.
I only played it twice. Give me a break.
Yeah, and you're so bad at it.
I think I have to agree with you. I think Walkabout is the premier game here. However, for me, I think Hubris is a dark horse because we don't have that sci-fi shooter. We don't have something that's not a pure shooter. I mean, Resident Evil is just everything. It's just like the ultimate game. But I think this could fill in the gap of something that's needed. So I'm excited for it to come out, but I do think Walkabout is, from what people are saying, I'm trusting the masses. Don't let us down.
Yeah. And speaking of not letting us down, don't let us down and leave on the segment break because we're going to be back for segment 2 here after the break where we're going to review Garden of the Sea, baby. So get ready for that, and we'll see you after the break.
It can be really big or really small. You play with it at night in bed. You're not allowed to fiddle with it at work, though. And only very special people are allowed to touch it. What am I?
Oh, a Nintendo 3DS or a Nintendo 3DS XL.
Pretty close. It's a smartphone. You
Oh.
pervert. I
All right.
mean,
I have no segue from that, Adam.
there is no segue because that was a good riddle. Here's the thing. I'm so sorry. Indigo Isle. That is maturity right there. I'm gonna one up that riddle and start talking about some very legitimate PSVR news and a review by our boy Alex.
All right, yeah, let's get straight into the review. Are you ready for the
Before
review?
you begin, I'm sure it's going to be a 9, 9.5, or a 10 out of 10 because most of your game reviews are. But which one could it be? There's only one way to find out.
A 9 or a 10. Woo. Let's get into it. All right, today we're reviewing Garden of the Sea from developer Neat Corporation, who you might know from Budget Cuts, that series, published by Nico Software, at a price point of $24.99, but I will say the review copy was provided by the publisher, so thank you very much. Taking the stand, we have Garden of the Sea. And a little preamble here. Relaxing games have been a growing contingency of video game libraries ever since the surprise success of Animal Crossing on the GameCube. While nearly all of us enjoy headshotting zombies, climbing mountains, and racing supercars, every once in a while it's nice to find a game that tunes down the thrills, erases the stress, and entices us to enjoy, explore, and simply be. Unfortunately, games that offer this low-stakes approach to games also usually lower the stakes in terms of production, presenting a set of mechanics and game design that provides new avenues of frustration. Our defendant today, Garden of the Sea, is on the stand to see how it stacks up in this genre, with 3 charges facing it. The first count is one charge of keeping it casual. So on this charge, Garden of the Sea begins with a minimalist tone. You start on an island with simple picture instructions that guide you through the task of picking up seeds, tilling the land, and planting and watering crops. You then pick the crops, give them to a small island creature, and he's suddenly built a bridge from which you can further explore the island. And at this moment, you've completed one instance of the primary gameplay loop within Garden of the Sea. And I loved it. Many simple games in this vein require slogging through slow-crawling text, mashing buttons until the overwrought instructions are complete. But here there is no text, only pictures, and the pictures are almost always enough to tell you what you need to know. On top of the contextual clues, the game makes it easy to manage an inventory attached to your hand, and the method of combining ingredients to craft is as painless as dropping them into a ball and pushing a button. It feels easy, it feels good, and it feels right. Combining this with the movement mechanisms, automatically repopulating tools, and a world that seems to want to work with you to get jobs done, the game quickly becomes a place where you can relax and enjoy and explore the environment at your own pace. And for that reason, I find Garden of the Sea, on the count of keeping it casual, guilty. Adam, you got any questions for me?
So, is this... There's casual, like Cave Digger 2, and then there's fun casual. Where would you place this in terms of the casual games? That some are puzzle games, some are just more experiences than necessarily playing a game. Where would you put it?
You're certainly playing a game. There's things to do. There's objectives to complete. So I don't want to say that you're just dropping in and looking around. It's not like Mind Labyrinth VR where like really the goal is to just kind of walk around this space and you're done. But it's not like Cave Digger 2 where there's like these strict set of objectives in front of you that you need to accomplish. Like you go into the level, do these things, and then you're done. This is kind of open-ended. You know there's tasks at hand, and you might get sidetracked and find some new task to accomplish, and there's nothing making you do one thing before you do another. I guess you'd call it fun casual. I had fun playing it. I should just kind of further explain the conceit of the game a little bit, where you grow crops, you craft items, you put those together to make new crops to get new items, and then you're feeding those to animals, or you're making, solving puzzles on islands to get more crops to craft and customize your environment.
Is it like Harvest Moon almost?
I've never played Harvest Moon, but I get some Harvest Moon vibes. I get some Animal Crossing vibes, and we'll kind of dive into that here a little bit later.
Cool. Continue.
All right. Well, on the charge of bottoming out, there is a lot to do and tinker with, but usually the depth of the activity has been revealed upon the first attempt. Like I mentioned, Get some ingredients, put them together. Bam, you have a bridge. Get some ingredients, put it together. Bam, the cow on your island is happy. You can boat, you can fish, you can craft, you can customize, and you can even breed your island creatures. But once you've done each of these one time, the next step in the process is kind of similar. It could be a little bit repetitive. There's not much depth there. But it's just doing the same things with a little bit more. However, the individual elements are enjoyable. There just feels like little reason to keep returning to the activities unless it's specific for a specific resource you're looking for. However, the execution of these activities, these different mini games, they're enjoyable when you do revisit them, so you're never frustrated that, oh, I have to fish for this item. Oh, I have to ride the boat to do this. Oh, I have to grow this crop. You're kind of welcome to the idea of you having to jump back in and enjoy these things. But I will say that across all the things that you can do on the islands, there's not much depth to it. It gets kind of shallow. Crafting is what crafting is from the beginning. Growing crops is what growing crops is from the beginning. And feeding your animals is what feeding your animals is from the beginning. So on the count of bottoming out, I find Garden of the Sea guilty.
So you mentioned that normally you don't like crafting, but you, in some private text, you were like, this is the first type of crafting that I don't hate. Why is that? And do you think that would be a universal statement for people who wouldn't like crafting in the majority of games?
I usually hate crafting because it's always like, hey, find these 5 items and 4 of them are easy to find, and then there's one that's really hard to find or really annoying to get. This does a little bit of that where it's like, oh, you got to do all these things and you have this weird flower you got to throw in there. However, it's really easy to grab that rare flower item from some other island, bring it to your home island, and just plant that crop, and bam, you got 10 of them right there. Waiting for the flowers to grow is like 30 seconds. I'm not waiting for a full day-night cycle or anything like that. It's just do something else for a little bit, come back, and it's ready for you. So getting the materials necessary for crafting, once you found it initially, it's easy to get that again. And so it's not annoying to be like, oh crap, I got to go back across the whole map to find this one random weird thing. The stuff gets there quickly and easily. And that's what makes the crafting enjoyable for me. Also, you're kind of doing everything in the same little module. Drop it in a bubble, turn the crank, bam, the item's out for you. And sometimes it'll give you 3 or 4 of those items, which makes it easier to do something like crafting a fence. You can get a lot of it done at once.
Cool. Nice.
All right, on to the third charge of information underload. Now, while many people enjoy an explicit story when they play a game, something just telling you everything that's happening, that can be fine, but Garden of the Sea allows you to fill in the gaps of whatever story may be occurring. Like I said, you appear on an island, you don't really know what's going on, and nobody's talking to you and explaining to you what's going on. And actually, it wasn't until the end of the game that I realized what I was actually doing in the game, what role I played in the entire process of the quote-unquote plot in the game. And I actually kind of enjoyed that. It added some mystery to everything that I was doing. The music rolled in and it was kind of ominous at times. It was kind of mysterious and adventurous at times. And those things made me motivated to figure out what was happening. I want to find out more about what's going on rather than being told, hey, you need to do blah, blah, blah so that blah, blah, blah can happen and the game is done. Beyond that, the lack of the over-explanations makes any individual discoveries more compelling and more enticing. So they're not telling you anything. So when I go to this, a new island in the map, and I discover a new gameplay mechanic or some new puzzle that I have to solve, it's rewarding. When I solve that puzzle, I feel proud of the accomplishment. I feel excited to figure out what happens when I solve that puzzle. And that excitement motivated me to keep going, keep doing more on the islands. And it turns out what initially just seemed like an island farm sim kind of slipped into like a pseudo puzzle game, and then combining that with like the reactionary soundtrack, so there is a cool thing happening that everything you're doing in the game kind of changes the soundtrack slightly. It changes, adds notes and stuff depending on what you're doing at that specific time. Those kind of things give the game a surprising feeling of like dramatic adventure at times, which is really welcome. So for that point, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but on the charge of information underload, I find Garden of the Sea guilty.
So one thing I always worry about with games similar to this is that I'm going to miss key information, or I'm going to miss something that would really make me enjoy the game, but because I inadvertently passed it up or didn't do that specific side quest or something, along that lines, it almost stresses me out and makes me worry that I'm not fully getting the entire experience of the game. Do you think that's possible with this, or does that worry you after playing it?
That's a really good point, Adam, because that's a fine line that somebody has to ride, right? Because you want to reveal enough information to make you interested, to want to explore that, but you don't want to drop so much information, so many hints and clues that you feel inundated and daunted and stressed out. It's like, how am I going to remember this crap? This game does it. I mean, part of it comes along with the idea that it's not a very deep game, right? There's not a lot going on, so usually when there's a hint or a clue dropped, it's not hard for me to keep that in my memory bank. However, you have a boat that you're traveling around. The boat has a storage thing, so if I ever wanted to remember something, I could take a picture of the thing I'm trying to remember. You have a camera, put that picture in the storage box. That way, I can pull it out again and say, "Oh, that was that thing I was looking at." Or I could just grab, the special item, the item that seems special, put it on my boat, and it's going to be there with me wherever I go. There was one instance where I, started down the path of solving a puzzle, decided to go do something else, and then I totally forgot that key item that I needed, that it was important to solve this puzzle, and I was left running around for a while. But eventually I came back around to it and figured out what was happening. But that's kind of just a byproduct of when I stopped playing the game and picked it up again the next day. But I think this game does a really good job of giving you enough to keep you interested, wanting to do something next, but not so much to where you feel like, there's like this huge laundry list of things I got to keep track of now. Everything seems kind of interesting to explore and interesting to find out about.
Nice.
All right. Well, that brings us to the final verdict. Garden of the Sea is a game that I kind of thought I knew what it was before I started. I thought it was going to be like a light version of Animal Crossing, but it turns out that the game is, a little bit of Animal Crossing, but also it was like a little bit of Outer Wilds, where you have this mysterious adventure going on, and a little bit of Wind Waker, where you're hopping on this boat and traveling on the high seas, and there's an adventure taking place there. And then they throw in some farming game, they throw in some adventure stuff, and all of that stuff kind of came together to create something that was more than the sum of its parts. None of these individual components were broken. None of these individual components were annoying. They were all enjoyable, and I looked forward to engaging with all of those. So, when it comes to the final verdict of Garden of the Sea, if it's a game worth you buying, worth you playing, worth you experiencing, I have to say, I find you, Garden of the Sea, guilty.
Go figure. Go figure. So, Alex, I heard people say that this is a cross between Pokemon and Bug Snacks. Is that true? It doesn't really sound like what you were describing, and I don't know these people saying it. I don't necessarily trust them or distrust them, but that caught my attention, and I was like, oh, I like Bug Snacks. Do you see that comparison?
Well, Bug Snacks is a game where you're trying to solve the puzzle of, like, how do I catch this creature, right?
Uh-huh.
There's never anything like that. I'm never trying to figure out how do I catch this creature. Usually the creature interaction is like, I walk up to this cow, it's like a whale and a cow together. I rub its head, and it tells me what it wants to eat. I go find that crop, or maybe I have to grow it. I feed it to it, rub its head. It loves me a bit more. I do that enough, and it becomes like my pet. Then I have to build like a place for the pet to live, and then I do more puzzles with the pet, give it the right stuff, and it has a baby, and that baby gives me new things that I can use to craft other items and things like that. So it doesn't really feel like Bug Snacks beyond like there's these different creatures that you're like trying to woo over and win over to be part of your
almost seems
stable.
like a VR version of a Tamagotchi.
In a sense, yeah. So I mean, there were times where I got Bug Snacks vibes, just because it's like there is a puzzle here, or like this creature wants this item that I have to figure out how to make on this island. But it was never too crazy involved. Now I will admit, I played through the game and beat it, but there's a lot more for me to go back and explore. There's like some end game content, and there's I would like to just build out all of the different environments I can build out on my island. But I don't think it's quite as Bug Snacky as Bug Snacks beyond the cuteness.
How do you know how long the game is? I know some people don't go back and look at their stats.
Yeah, I think if you were to do like a mainline run through, it's probably like 5-6 hours, maybe 7 hours. If you want to try to do like all the stuff, which I'm planning on doing, it's going to be like 10 to 15 hours maybe. So it's a decent chunk of game. And another thing with these games, they don't overstay their welcome. But if you're looking for something with infinite replayability, like Animal Crossing, that's not going to be there. When you finish all the tasks in this game, it's not like things are resetting and you can keep doing it over and over again. It's kind of done.
Do you think I would like the game, and why or why not?
I think you could find things to enjoy. When I did the fishing, I thought Adam might like to be able to fish a little bit. Adam might like a relaxing game. You might be put off by how cute it is initially, and it's never not really cute. But it's certainly not trying to just get by on its cuteness, which it seems like that bothers you about some games. Um, I know you seemed immediately put off when I mentioned Outer Wilds. That was a vibe that resonated with me, but it's not as annoying as Outer Wilds, right? You're not going to be blowing up every 20 minutes.
And so that the reason I didn't like Outer Wilds is because of that annoyance. I like the theory of Outer Wilds, but I feel like the execution was just almost as poor as could possibly be done, which I know you and millions of other vastly disagree with me, just like you don't like Kingdom Hearts and you're stupid. But the so that is probably a good thing. Like I like the theory of Outer Wilds. The real question here, Alex, and I forgot to put my game on our all-time list here. So mine's a hung jury, right? It's definitely Cave Digger 2. Man, it is. So it's definitely not better than Runner. It's not better than Demio. I don't think it's as creative as Before Your Eyes. I would rather play Afterlife VR. Puzzling Places. Oof. So would I rather play Cave Digger 2 or Kayak VR Mirage? And I feel like I would rather play Cave Digger 2. More to do, not as simple, certainly not as pretty, not as polished, but again, the gameplay is fun, right? And you played the game. You could give me some input. So far, are you tracking with what I'm saying?
I mean, I enjoyed Tentacular more than I enjoyed what I did at Cave Digger 2. Um, to me, it seems like Seek or My Shadow would be like a line for you to decide if it's over or under. Because, like, to me, Moss is a game, even if you've already played it, it's a game that I could recommend over playing Cave Digger 2. Um, very similar to Moss in the sense that it was a PSVR 1 game, so people might have already played it, right?
I would rather play this than Moss, especially
Okay,
if
yeah.
you've already played it.
Then what about
Maybe
Seeker? What about Seeker My Shadow? Would you rather play this or Seeker My Shadow?
I would rather play Cave Digger 2.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes things clear. To me, it's like I think this is going to be above or below Tentacular. Personally, I think it would go below Tentacular. Tentacular just felt like an actual real PSVR2 game. This felt like a port that just worked a bit better in PSVR2. But this is your review, so that's just my input.
Yeah, the only issue is just that Kayak VR Mirage. That's above Tentacular. And the fact that that's an experience is what kind of brings it down, and why I think Cave Digger 2, like, I would rather play Cave Digger 2, but on the first playthrough, I mean, I would rather play Kayak, right? Just Kayak is going to get old after 2 hours. Cave Digger, you've got 10 hours of.
But are those 10 hours as good as the 2 hours you have in Kayak?
Yeah, I know. It's tough here, dude. I think we have it right here. It's just where do we put it? I especially later in the game, I mentioned to you off air that the game, it starts to get glitchy. Enemies get stuck in the rocks and they start flying in the air, and not in the good way, in like the glitchy way. The game crashed on me a couple times. So I think that's probably fair. I do like this better than Moss, on the basis that you've played Moss before.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is why Moss is so low to begin with.
Yeah.
This list. So I'm okay. I will put it beneath Tentacular. I will listen to you, and I see the value that you're adding in that point of view.
Okay.
I'm pretty happy with that, right?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's not the upper echelon of PSVR2 games, and it shouldn't be ranked as such, but it's definitely not the worst. I can't believe freaking Thumpers. I know every time we talk about the list, I bring this up. It's just hilarious that it's like third worst. I mean, it's just like
you should play the demo for Tentacular, Adam. Maybe you can set me straight on it. And maybe I was too harsh on it, because I mean, looking at Cave Digger 2 and looking at Tentacular, to me it's like a clear difference. But I mean, I have my reasons when I played it, and those reasons are valid. I guess next is
here. If I have to put If I had to guess where you're going to put Garden of the Sea, do you know? Can I go ahead and say it, or am I going to bias you?
I don't know yet. Yeah,
Okay,
you can
then
go ahead and say it. I mean,
no, I'll have in my mind. You place it, and I'll tell you where I think you're going to put it, or
here's the thing. This game really surprised me. I was not expecting to enjoy this game as much as I did. It presents itself as something that it's actually not. I thought, however, it was going in directions, or I thought it was going in a direction that it ultimately didn't go in. Had it gone in that direction, this game would have been like above and beyond for me. But the game did kind of reach an ending before I was ready for it to reach an ending, and there were things that I thought were going to be more interesting that ended up not being as interesting as I expected. So the initial promise of the game was like, man, this is going to be like a top 5 game. Having gone through the game, I very, very much enjoyed it, but it just wasn't quite doing what I thought it might have been doing by the time I got to the end of it. So for that reason, I'm going to put it either above or below Demio. What were you
okay.
What were you thinking, Adam?
No, I want you to place it first.
Okay, it's a tough call. I really like Demio. I'll put it below Demio. I'll put it below Demio just because I think Demio is going to be more palatable for a lot more people. But it's such a good game. If this is a type of game that interests you, like, you certainly have to play it. But yeah, we're going to put it here below Demio at number 8 in our list.
Man, see that I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised. I thought you were gonna have it above Runner. I thought it was gonna be number 6, just below Moss Book 2, and I would have been fine with that. Just the text as you were playing were just like, Garden Sea is so good.
Yeah.
I'm having such a good time. But then where you're mentioning you finished the game and maybe some of those loose ends didn't tie up as you expected, and that obviously limits the enjoyment factor, right? Near the end.
It felt like there was more depth that I was unfolding than there actually was. Like, I thought the story was like, oh, there's a lot more story to gather here, but like, you hit a hard stop. And the fishing's like, oh, there's fishing, I can do fishing, and then before you know it, it's like, okay, I've done the fishing. So it's kind of like I mentioned, like, you bottom out pretty quick. You get to the end, the full depth of what's happening pretty quickly. Although it's all really fun and good, it's just didn't quite go to the links that I thought it would when I first started playing it. That said, had a great time with it. Fully recommend the game. That race between Runner and Demio, that's like a very tight race between like 6, 7, and 8, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too that it could almost be who is playing it. Yeah. I would rather have short bursts of really fun and high action, dynamic gameplay. That's Runner. Demio is maybe more replay value, but a longer, more intense session of strategic gameplay. And then Garden of the Sea, you just discussed. I think it's tough, but I also feel like there is still a decent drop off from Moss Book 2 to Runner. So I feel like there's a ledge there. And I feel like, from 1 to 5, those are like the upper echelon. They're made for PSVR2. They take advantage of the technology. They're just straight up good games. And then we get into they could be really good games for certain people, but maybe not everybody. And then some that are like middling, like Puzzling Places, like it could go either way. You could enjoy it, but you're never I don't think anyone's gonna love this game, right? And then we get into the sucky Dyschronias and Zeniths and Cactus Cowboy. I'm excited for you, Alex, because for now you have finally caught up on all the games that you need to review. It's taken you 3 months, but you've done it. You've done it, my friend. So now, before you don't get much of a break with those games coming in May, but I mean, with us reviewing them together, like, humanity's free, so we're not obligated to work on a schedule for it. Walkabout, we both can review it.
Fisherman's Tale would be short.
Coming out. We may not play Hello Neighbor because neither of us really cares about it. But what is your plan now? What do you want to play? Do you want to take a break from VR because you've been playing so much for reviewing games? You want to jump back into a game like finish Garden of the Sea? You want to start something new? What's your plan?
I mean, I finished Garden of the Sea. I finished most of it. So
Well, yeah, like
yeah,
you mentioned there were some loose
yeah,
ends or extra stuff you wanted to finish. Yeah.
yeah. I I really want to play Light Brigade. Right, we never got a review copy, so that wasn't on our docket. But I bought it. I've heard everything I've heard about it sounds right up my alley. I really want to play Resident Evil 8. But again, that's a game that's like unless I know I can beat that within like a weekend and be ready for the next game. It's so hard for me to devote myself to it. Synth Riders. I want to see what all the fuss about Synth Riders is about, and I want to go fight some 8-year-olds in Creed. But probably the next thing I'll do is jump into Light Brigade. I think just because it's an unknown, right? I know Resident Evil is going to be great. I want to see this unknown of Light Brigade and see what it's actually doing.
I I just can't disagree more. I don't understand. Resident Evil 8 is great. It's like the penultimate what I butchered that. What's the word?
It's penultimate's the word, but it means like the second best or something like that. But yeah.
Okay, it is the pinnacle of
There we go.
gaming. It is so good. And
That's the thing with me, Adam, and that
why would
it's
you not want to play? Like, I can't think of a single reason.
it's like you ever have that. This is that whole selection issue. You get like selection paralysis or whatever, choice paralysis. Where you ever been like looking for a movie to watch on Netflix and like, what if there's like The Godfather and you haven't seen it, like a movie that you know is just like one of the best movies ever, and you have 2 hours, you could probably watch it, but instead you watch something stupid like the latest like movie comedy from Will Ferrell or something like that. You watch that and it's not even that good, but you choose to watch that because you don't feel like you're gonna have to be invested in it or something. Like I kind of get that where it's like if I know something is gonna be good, then I'm trying to wait for some perfect time to play it, which is not great. I should just play Resident Evil 8. I should just play Resident Evil 8 next. That's what I should do, right?
I I see almost where you're coming from because and it depends on how I suppose you like the game. If you like to start a game and finish it before you move on, I could see, yeah, you're not going to be able to finish Resident Evil 8 probably anytime soon. It's at least 12 hours.
Yeah.
So it's a very good 12 hours. But if you want to play something now and then you don't want to have to take a break to play Walkabout Mini Golf or then maybe another game when Humanity comes out, then I guess I can see that. But if you don't mind breaking it up, then and I'm the one that when I start a game, I have to finish it. Like I'll play it to submission. I'll stay up late at night. I know it's something you don't always have the freedom of doing. So I guess I see where you're coming from, but it's just Resident Evil is just so freaking good, man. Like
I need to go in. I need to like at least get to like the meat of the gameplay so I can then if I stop, I can pick it up again later because I understand how things are working. I need to get past that initial hump of it, I think. I just know there's a lot of complicated systems in it, more so than like these other games that you might pop in and play for 10 hours. This is going to have more meat on the bones, and I got to chew through that meat so I know what it tastes like.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know. If you don't want to play a game, then be like distracted and then have to go back and relearn the mechanic. I mean, I could see that.
If somebody told me there's not going to be any more PSVR2 games coming out ever again, I'd probably jump back into Gran Turismo 7. Like I want to play that game so much more than I've played it, and I've already played it a lot. But I should do Resident Evil 8 first. I should at least play that until we get Walkabout Mini Golf or something.
Yeah, we got sales, and
We got sales.
we've got sales, and it's time to do the sales. We led you. I feel like we did a good job last week, but it's time to help you again, let you know what's worth playing, what's worth buying, and I'm the only one that can do it.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do this right. Apparently, some of the sales on PS prices are not trustworthy, so we're going straight from the PlayStation Store today. Looks like we got about 18. Some of these are repeat, but some games on sales you can get. Adam, right out of the gate, Resident Evil Village Gold Edition for the PS5, $29.99.
I mean, Didn't you just hear what I said? It's the pinnacle of gaming.
The
Buy
pinnacle
it.
of gaming.
Granted, you could, buy a physical edition for $20 on eBay and then resell it back. There's cheaper ways to do it, but if you want to keep going back, maybe it's just better to buy it digitally.
Yeah, this is the gold edition, so it has all the DLC, but none of that DLC applies to VR. I mean, the normal Resident Evil Village is $20 for download without the DLC. That's all the VR stuff. So if you're only playing VR, that's probably the way to go. Is just the normal $20 version.
No one cares about non-VR. Get out of here. Buy it.
Buy it. Demio for the PS5 is 20% off with a price tag of $31.99. 5% more off if you're PS Plus, so it probably brings it down to like the $29.99. But yeah, around the $30 mark, Adam. What are you thinking for Demio?
I personally, I wouldn't touch that again. I wish I could ask for a refund, but I can't. And I know, again, my opinion is unpopular. Jay Bratt likes it. Alex likes it. I think Shafe is okay with it. Everyone I played with online, they like it, even though they lose. I just don't get it. The game is boring. It sucks. It's too long. Have saves. Let me save. Stupid.
Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Tourist Edition for $34.99.
Tourist edition?
That's the version that you have to get the free upgrade if you get it on PS4. But just effectively $35 for Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 1.
I'm not having that good a time with it, to be honest. It's not bad, but $35, I wouldn't do that.
You're a tough customer. How about Thumper for $10? Even cheaper, probably like $7 if you have the PlayStation Plus.
I feel like if you haven't played this, it's definitely worth it. If you have and you have some extra money, I still say, yeah, it is a fun game. If you haven't played it in 4 years, it's perfect time to hop back in. PSVR2 makes it even more enjoyable. You don't get that light that comes into the gameplay area. You're shrouded in darkness. You're all in on the environment. Get your Beetle on.
Vacation Simulator for $22.49.
Wish I could take a vacation from these developers in this game. Stop putting on sale. I don't want to talk about it. I am never going to recommend playing you. Maybe if you're free, but then that's just because that's good common sense. You never turn down a free game.
I feel like this is like Garden of the Sea is the evolution of this type of game. So at this price point, I say like get Garden of the Sea. But people, anyways, After the Fall Complete Edition for $20.
I would have loved to bought it for $20, Alex, but I bought it for $30. And then we don't play it. So if you have friends who actually play virtual reality, maybe buy it. But if you don't, stay off it because it's not fun to play with randos. It's not fun to play by yourself. And it's not worth $30. $20, sure. I mean, again, if you have people to play with it, thanks, Alex. You owe me $20.
I ain't giving you crap. Cities VR Enhanced Edition, $23.99.
Man, I'm interested in this, but I'm just gonna round it up to $25 with tax. It's too much of a gamble. I want it to be $15 is my spot. When it's $15, I think I'm gonna pull the trigger.
How about Synth Riders Remastered Edition for $18.99?
What percent off is that?
24%.
Oh, come on. Make it 25%. I'm in. I'm not doing this 24% crap. Get it off.
Cave Digger 2 Dig Harder for $15.
That's the thing, man. If you are even interested, you're going to get your money back in this game. So it's also, I'm hung on determining if you buy this game or not.
Last Labyrinth for $23.99.
What? Last Labyrinth?
It was a PSVR 1 game. They ported it to PSVR 2.
I don't even know. I didn't play it then. And I'm not
anime
playing it now.
Cute anime girl popping a squat. Yeah. Cosmonius High for $22.49.
I didn't read the reviews. We haven't played this. I have a feeling it's just going to be another vacation simulator type game. I'm not really interested when there's enough variety on the PlayStation Store now that you could find something better.
Having played Garden of the Sea, seeing the evolution of that kind of game, it's like Vacation Simulator, but you can move around. You're not stuck on these little pinpoint things to go to. I've played it just a little bit. I need to play it more. If you like Vacation and Job Simulator, you should probably start with Cosmonius High if you're on PSVR 2 because It's
All
that
right,
kind of
Alex, we
stuff,
got to
man.
move. Let's go.
Okay, sorry. Job Simulator for $15.
F no.
All right, Altair Breaker for $23.99.
Ooh, too expensive still.
I heard this game was good. It's just there's not much multiplayer, but I heard the combat was fun, which has me intrigued because I thought the combat would be fun. Anyways, moving on. Tetris Effect Connected, $29.99.
Move on.
Res Infinite for $22.49.
I can't guarantee at that price. I'm sorry. Well, if you never played it, that's worth it. To get the upgrade, I still don't think it's worth $10.
Fantavision 2020X for $14.99.
I would rather get wait, what's the price?
$14.99.
I would rather get $14.99 worth of Fanta, the soft drink.
All right. That's it for the sales, Adam. Thank you for your weird recommendations. You got any last words for our listeners before I bring us out?
I just like VR, man. I'm excited. Walkabout, VR, mini golf, whatever you're called. Bring it on. I'm going to use my huge putter and I'm going to really drive that ball. It's long, right. It's girthy, it's thick. I can't wait.
All right. Well, that is it for episode 119 of Play PSVR2, the podcast where we dig a garden of content for you to enjoy. And if you dig it, then please leave us a review on iTunes, comment on YouTube, or email us at contact@playpsvr.com. Even if you don't dig it, give us your meanest words. We need to do a roast box soon, Adam. And if you want that content to blossom, make sure you bring your family along too. It's summer. School's almost out, which means you need to entertain your kids. Put them in front of YouTube, hit them up with our channel, Gaming is in Session, and let them enjoy what you enjoy. And what you enjoy is Adam and Alex of Play PSVR2, the podcast, where virtual reality is our reality.
Blammo!